Welcome on in, this is Spruce and Studs, and are you ready for another epic grudge match between the two biggest Warhammer 40K action figure manufacturers? I sure the heck am. So, we are going to be taking a look at the McFarlane Necron Warrior versus the JoyToy Immortal. So, I know that this is not exactly going to be a one-to-one comparison, but the Immortal is very, very close to the Necron Warrior in terms of function and troop ability. So that's why we're going to pit these two right against each other. And if you're new to the channel, I'll let you know what I judge this on. I judge it on paint quality, paint color, posability, armaments, and general Necronness. So there's really nothing left to do but get down to the grudge match.
And welcome to the battle arena, folks. Off on the left-hand side, we have McFarlane's rendition of the Necron Warrior, and opposing the McFarlane one is going to be the JoyToy Immortal. So the first thing that we're going to take a look at for these two action figures side by side is the paint quality, as usual. Let's see what's going on with the paints on this McFarlane action figure. Old-time subscribers to the chapter will know that I'm going to be fairly nitpicky on the paint quality here. So this is going to remind you of the old videos that I used to put out. So I'm going to be critiquing this guy pretty harshly. Anyways, let's take a look at this Necron in excruciating detail. The eyes are screened actually fairly nicely. I will have to say that the dry brushing here is fairly decent, but a little bit messy around this part. And I'll have to say also that the paint quality on this Necron area has some things left to be desired, because the silver doesn't actually cover up this whole entire area, unfortunately. We're seeing that this ribcage area is not completely black, so it doesn't cover up the metallic parts underneath. So that's a slight miss there. So we're going to flip this around and take a look at the other paint quality. There does not seem to be any issues with the spinal column back here, nor are there any issues with these joints. They are a monochrome gray color, which is fine. Now we're going to take a look at the paint quality on this Gauss flare. And generally it looks okay. You got a miss over here where the green does not completely cover up the black. And flipping this around, it's a little bit of the same over here. There's a little bit of the black showing here. It should be entirely green in my opinion. Let's see the paint quality on the JoyToy action figure. And to be honest, the paint quality is generally decent. So there's a little bit of a miss here where the dry brushing is not really that great. And then you also get the same problem with where the black doesn't actually cover up the metallic part completely. And then I would have to say the highlights on these joints are a little bit messy and looks like kind of a child may or may not have done this. We're going to take a look at the Gauss blaster, see if there's any issues over here. And I will have to say that, again, the paint quality is not that great. More of this messy dry brushing here on the Gauss blaster area. However, I would have to say these green tubes look very good. There's a good transition between this dark green to this light and back to dark again. And as we're flipping this Gauss blaster around, there is a little bit of a miss here as well, where this area should be more of a silver rather than a black kind of color. So in terms of paint quality, I think I might have to give it to McFarlane, because they have actually a lot less areas in order for them to screw up, because they don't do a lot of highlighting or shading, whereas JoyToy does do all of that stuff. But because they do all that stuff, it lends them to have more of an opportunity for a lack of paint quality. Now, we are going to be moving on to paint color, and we're going to start off with the McFarlane one yet again. And I will have to say the paint color on this thing, just like I said in the review video, looks kind of dull to me. There's not a lot of life or vibrance that comes out of this action figure. Everything is just this very dull looking gold color. And there's nothing that really jumps out when you're looking at this action figure. And to be honest, there's really no differentiation between, you know, these wires and stuff. I think this should be like silver or black. McFarlane should do a little bit of shading. I think shading would be very, very nice to bring out this area. So again, The paint color on this action figure just looks super dull. The Gauss flare actually looks fairly decent to me. Although, again, it still looks a little bit flat and could use a little bit more highlighting, shading, and more depth to it. We're going to take a look at the JoyToy Immortal. And I'll have to say, next to the McFarlane one, your eyes, to be honest, I think normally would gravitate more to the JoyToy one. So I'm going to say that, look at this coloring here. The gold that they decided to use is more vibrant. It catches the eye. There's more life to it. And the black stands out as a nice contrast between all the gold color that you see. We're going to take a look at the Gauss Blaster again. You get to see that color transition here, which is fantastic. There's this nice contrast between this dark green and the black, as well as this light green over here in the middle of the Gauss Blaster versus the silver color on this. So I will have to give the paint color to the JoyToy action figure over here. So the score right now is 1-1. So in terms of posability, let's take a look at this thing. Taking a look at the head, it spins around 360 degrees. Yes, it does have a little bit of range of motion limited there, as you just saw. There's little to no range of motion limited to the shoulder joint, lateral movement throughout the shoulders as well. And the wrist area, you can move this up and down as well. And then about the hip area, there is 360 degrees of rotation, 90 degrees here about the knee, and some bending motion about the ankles. This does 360 degree rotation, and the foot actually can prop up like that as well. Now, let's take a look at the JoyToy Immortal. And straight off the bat, this thing's movement on the head is fairly limited. It doesn't do that 360 degree rotation that I just showed you. The rest of it should be about the same as the McFarlane action figure. So there's 360 degree rotation about the shoulders. Lateral movement, the same thing. The elbow is 90 degrees, just like the McFarlane one. About the hip area, 360. Same thing with the knee. But it does not have the same area on the toes that allow you to pose this thing a little bit more dynamically. So who wins the posability? I'll have to say, in all honesty, McFarlane wins the posability because it's a lot more posable about the head area. And then there's this extra foot action down here that allows for more dynamic posing. So the score now is 2-1 McFarlane. All right, we're going to take a quick look at the armaments very, very quickly. And I'll have to say that both of these armaments look really nice and are very, very faithful to the GW miniatures. You got these different coils here, this area on the respective Gauss weapons, and then these green tubings look really nice too. I'll have to say that the armaments look entirely the same and look really nice. So this one I'll give as a complete dead tie. So the score now is 3-2 McFarlane. And finally, let's take a look at the Necronness of these action figures. So, starting off with the McFarlane one, there are a lot of things that jump out at me that the Immortal does not have. So the first thing is the plethora of dings and scrapes and dents all over this thing, and I also commented this on my review video of this action figure. I found these to be completely impressive and very accurate to the Necronness that we're talking about. You want to see this stuff because guess what? These guys have actually been around for a millennium. And you get to see all these massive wires and stuff sticking down over here as well. Let's take a look at the Immortal. So, while the Immortal actually is very pleasing to the eye, it looks too clean to me in my opinion. Almost like this is a newly minted Immortal. There are no dings, there are no scrapes, and this is just a very, very nice looking and clean action figure. But you want to see battle damage on this thing, just like you saw in the Necron Overlord. I'll have to give it to McFarlane on this one. I think this figure, while it looks kind of dull, looks very dynamic in terms of the amount of character and quality that's been put on here. So, surprise, surprise, McFarlane has won 4-2.
So, folks, what did you think about this comparison? Were you actually shocked and surprised that I did not go for the JoyToy action figure, that I actually went for the McFarlane one, even though I said that the color was a little bit rough and lacking? I'm a little bit surprised myself, to be honest. I actually do like the aesthetics and the look of the Immortal, but it's just, again, the Necron Warrior and how McFarlane manufactured this thing. It just captures so much awesome Necronness that I guess is completely missing from this Immortal. So folks, let me know in the comments section what you thought about this comparison video. Who, in your opinion, should have won this thing? I would like to know, so let's just have a nice active dialogue. So this is Sprues and Studs, again, bringing you this content. I hope you enjoyed it. And I'm sorry to say this will conclude the Necron review block. And once again, thank you so much for tuning in and supporting this channel so much. If this is the type of in-depth content that you want to see, please remember to smash that subscribe button for me, as it helps out the channel so much. And once again, thanks, and I'll see you all in the next one.